Well, I am so honored to be in such wonderful company, and it was a pleasure and an honor to hear all of the comments made by the nominees tonight. I too am a woman in business. My business is now 15 years old. In fact, this is our 15th anniversary, and we bought our first restaurant, the Holly Hill Inn, in 2000. My husband and I, and it seems amazing to me that 15 years can go by so quickly. Most of you may know me best as the chef in residence at Woodford Reserve Distillery, but actually I have 5 different restaurants and a bakery. So our company has grown from just a mom and pop operation. When my husband and I opened the Holly Hill Inn, it's a 150-year-old home in Midway, Kentucky. For those of you here in Louisville, that's exit number 65 off of I-64, 1 hour. And we moved in upstairs, so we had the restaurant on the first floor. We sold our home and everything in it in Lexington, and we moved on to the second floor. And serving and preparing local foods, locally grown foods, was a big part of our business plan. And we modeled our plans and our dreams for Holly Hill Inn after like the Inn at Little Washington, outside Washington, D.C., and the Herb Farm outside Seattle, Washington. And we had dreams of sort of opening a fine dining restaurant out into the countryside of Kentucky. And that's really what we did. In the last 15 years, we're very close to $3 million in purchases from Kentucky Proud food producers, and that's farm gate receipts. That's not just Kentucky Proud products, but it's actually foodstuffs that move farm gate receipts. So it's raw products like cheese, beef, tomatoes, onions. It took us 10 years to get to the first $1 million in purchases, and after we've added these other restaurants, we're close to $3 million now. And that's a big part of what I think makes our food special and why I wanted to be a chef. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and attended the University of Kentucky, and I moved to New York City in 1987. After graduating from the University of Kentucky, my dad put all my stuff in the back of a trailer and drove my little sad butt up to New York City. I was supposed to go to law school. And for our speech coach here, actually in 1986, I won the national debate tournament for the University of Kentucky. So I had it all planned out. I was going to go to law school. I'll say thank you to that. I don't know how I went from debate champion to chef, but I'll share a little bit with you. I was going to go to law school, but I'd always loved cooking. And like so many of the speakers here tonight, I never knew that it was possible for me to become a professional chef. In the 80s, we were just beginning sort of this restaurant revolution in our country. There was no Food Network. There were very few food periodicals. There was mainly just Gourmet Magazine, which we don't even have anymore. So I didn't understand how to craft a professional path forward in food. I didn't see that as an option. So I planned to go to law school, and then I somehow got a job my senior year of college in a restaurant. And I decided I loved it so much I would defer law school. But I would move to New York City anyway and move in with the roommates I had planned to attend law school with. So my dad completely cut me off and said, that's fine, but you're going to have to make your own way in New York City. I opened up the New York Times and got a job in a restaurant. A few years later, I went to the Culinary Institute of America, and it was there that I met my husband, Chris. And somehow he proposed marriage after a few years of working and living in New York. And my mother threatened to kill me if I didn't come home to get married. Somehow I convinced Chris along the way to move back to Kentucky. Because when I got back to this state, I knew I was never going to leave again. I loved the adventure of moving to New York, but I wanted to cook and build a food culture around my friends and my family. I wanted to celebrate the food culture of Kentucky. And that's really what I've dedicated my professional career to doing. And using local food had to be the cornerstone of that mission, and it really has been for our businesses. We have, from the Holly Hill Inn, we opened Wallace Station, which is an 100-year-old train station on Old Frankfort Pike, which gave rise to Windy Corner Market. Part of the theme around using local foods. After the Holly Hill Inn had been open for a few years, one thing that became apparent in Kentucky was that, hey, local foods are becoming imprisoned in fine dining restaurants. What does that mean? Well, there's kind of, as our society has become more stratified, our access to good quality, nutritious food has become more stratified. And one big mission of mine is to show that local food is for everybody. Local fresh food are for all people in our community, not just people who can afford to eat in fancy restaurants with white tablecloths. So I'm a big believer in that. I wanted to somehow break local food preparation out of the prison of fine dining. So we started opening a series of casual restaurants, sandwich shops. They're still more expensive than a McDonald's, but a lot more nutritious and all based on local food. Wallace Station, Windy Corner, and our latest member to the family is called Smithtown Seafood. Smithtown Seafood's located in downtown Lexington at the corner of West 6th and Jefferson Street. It's a food desert. Smithtown Seafood is also a partner with a local nonprofit called Food Chain. Food Chain is an indoor aquaponics project. It's in the interior space of an old bread factory, which is about 90,000 square feet. There's no windows. And what we established was a farm, an urban farm, inside an abandoned old warehouse. Smithtown Seafood, when you walk out the back door, you walk into this beautiful growing room filled with tanks of tilapia that are also helping grow lettuces. So all this tilapia and all the beautiful lettuces and herbs are sold at Smithtown Seafood. That's the phase one of Food Chain. The second phase, we hope to establish a community kitchen that will help process green vegetables in this food desert and feed into a green grocery store, all within this same old building that at one point had been basically abandoned inside this neighborhood. I'm proud to say that Smithtown Seafood was the easiest restaurant of ours to staff, and we've hired all kinds of people from our neighborhood, and now hopefully through Food Chain we'll train people in culinary arts and food service techniques, and then eventually be able to open our green grocery store at the end of 2015 and service the needs of our community with high quality, low cost, fresh, nutritional, locally raised foods. A big theme that I've heard tonight from all of the participants is how business can really participate in giving back to the community. In my mind, and a few things really stood out to me. One woman said, well, pursue happiness. And one woman said, well, I'm so proud of the work I do with kids. All those same things are true for my businesses. Our businesses as women have multiple bottom lines. We all have to make money. In our business, we have three bottom lines. We have great food, great service, great financials. And I think as I get older and age into my silver business, I guess I'm still a middle-aged business. I'm on the end of middle age, moving toward the finish line. Still have a little growing to do. But I think adding to that, giving back to your community, is one of our biggest and best bottom lines that we can have in our businesses. And women-owned businesses have these core value mission statements. Every single one of them that stood up here tonight have it, and I have it. And I think that's something that we really bring of value to our business community in whatever community that we live, no matter how large, no matter how small. One of the things that Jessica had asked me to talk to you a little bit about tonight was about brand building. And as I was sitting here thinking about all of these different diverse businesses in my own business, I was trying to figure out, how do I build my brand? In our company, our businesses grew very organically. One business led to the next restaurant, led to the next. You get an opportunity, you feel like you have to take that opportunity. And last year I turned 50, so I started thinking, I think it's time for me to figure out how to be a businesswoman. So in my career, I'm saying, I can't stand at the stoves my whole life. I've been doing it for 30 years, standing at the stove. How am I going to teach the next young chef? What am I going to teach the next young chefs? And how am I going to bring all these restaurants together under this umbrella? And for us, it really is about giving back and supporting our local food economies, our local food culture, and creating a rich and diverse culture that is equal to our Bourbon Trail. So that is my challenge for my next decade. is to link all my businesses together and find the ties that bind us together. I was reading in the back one of the pamphlets on the 5 tips to marketing your business. And I realized we're doing so many of these things. Food photography, social media. The things that have changed just since we've been in business for 15 years are astounding. And it is a challenge. One of the things that I think, maybe the one thing that I think spoke to me the most is, besides giving back, is that we learn every day something new. And I feel like that's really true for me in my final decade. That we're learning new lessons in marketing all the time. And that we're promoting and developing a unique Kentucky food culture that's equal to and can support our unique Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm so thrilled and excited and motivated by all the nominees tonight.